Hello and welcome back to Sea Red UK, where quite simply it's Chicago Bulls team. This podcast is part of the Fans First Sports Network. Wherever you're listening, rate, review, subscribe, helps us out and ensures you don't miss another episode. And if you're watching on YouTube, make sure you hit the bell, give us a thumbs up, and leave some comments down below. I'm Matt, and as you can see, just me. Neil, obviously, as you all know, still on holiday. Basically, I'm doing this episode as we've obviously not been able to put any episodes out while Neil's been away. I've put a couple of audio only out. Been trying to do the YouTube just to keep the content there for us. So here we are. Finally figured it out, hopefully. If you've listened to the previous episode that I put out earlier today, you will have heard obviously a bit of input from Neil. Give my sort of quick opinion on what he was saying. But because it was only a quick one to sort of keep us current as such, I thought I'd dive a little bit more into what I had to actually say in it and stuff like that. And like I say, it's an opportunity for me to have a play around with everything what Neil normally does in terms of editing and stuff like that. So I'll start with the latest news as we usually do. Basically, the latest news is, as I sort of announce in the or suggest in the earlier episode, Chicago Bulls have officially unveiled the City Edition jerseys. Obviously, they've put the photo shoots out with it, the video explaining the meaning behind certain parts on it, like the Madhouse on Madison. Obviously, it's all to do with the original stadium and stuff like that. I'm sure you've all seen it, the video. Sure you've all seen the pictures. Probably saw all the leaked pictures as well. Personally, I'm not a fan. It's very, very bland, very basic. I do kind of, when you see the video with the meaning and stuff like that, and you see it on the players, it does look better. Obviously, it's got the Motorola sponsor on it as well, rather than the leaked one where it's quite plain. It's obviously got the Chicago sort of going vertically. It, yeah, it's, to me, they should just stop now with the City jerseys. They're clearly running out of ideas. I can only imagine it is quite hard to have to create these new jerseys once a year with some sort of meaning and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, we've already got 3 jerseys, and why do we need another one just to play 9 games in it? It's clearly just a money making thing for obviously Nike as it is at the minute. Um, on that, the merch that's alongside it does look pretty good, just as long as it's not got the Chicago down the side. So I'm obviously a hat guy, as anyone who knows me knows. I like the look of the logo, the sort of the painted effect. So as soon as I see the cap, as long as it's a decent looking one, I'll probably be buying that. That'll be about as much as I do, to be fair. I'm not really a jersey guy. So I'm not somebody who's going to go out and spend 90 quid on it. If anything, I'd get one off DHgate for 20 quid. And that's probably about as much as it's worth looking at it anyway. So yeah, that's pretty much it for the latest news. Obviously games are going on. Gave in the last episode my we haven't been doing game reviews as such, so it was an overall of the 5 games. And one thing that both me and Neil have said, and we've said time and time again, is this Bulls team just is not set for the 3-point game. And I've looked into it a little bit more today. All right, yeah, it's a small sample size. We know the problems we had last year. Been, what was it, 28th in the league in attempts or whatever it was, bottom of the league, whatever it was. And Yeah, it's a small sample size to start the season, 5 games. But if you look at it, if you're watching the games, yeah, they've tried to change the shot profile, which was basically throwing threes. And as I said in the earlier episode today, that's all well and good as long as you've got different players there. And the main players who were taking them are the same players that were taking them last year. And it just, as I said, if you running the same thing with the same players, you kind of got to expect the same results. And as a team at the minute, Bulls in through the 5 games have attempted 159 threes, hitting 48 of them, which gives them a percentage of just over 30, which is 28th in the league. In terms of attempts, all right, they're 17th in the league. However, there's only the teams below them, another 2 teams who have played 5 games, and that's Detroit and Portland. Everyone else is on either 4 or 3. So we're soon going to drop down in attempts as well. Just after tonight's round of games, probably tomorrow's round of games when other teams have started playing more. If I don't know who's playing tonight, but I know Pistons are obviously going to be another game for them. They're going to be on the 6th game. They're bound to put up possibly another 33s, even just 20. That puts them above Bulls. The worst team in the league at the minute, seemingly looking through the stats, is Portland. But they're a young, inexperienced team, and so when you look at that from a Bulls point of view, have we really improved just because we're throwing more up? When you look at the fact we're 28th in percentage, or obviously success rate, something's got to change. And then when you look at the individuals for the Bulls, you got, in terms of attempts, the top 5 players in attempts. We've got Zach, who's attempted 43, Kobe, who's attempted 26, P. Will, who's attempted 16, Caruso 14, and then you've got Javon, Carter, and Vooch on 13. Now, it's you've got Zach and Kobe there, the top 2 sort of attempts for Bulls. As I said before, I don't think they can play together, and because I think they're similar players, and the fact that it's them 2 that's attempting the most threes, it's I just don't know. I think that Kobe should be running that second unit, and if he can put up 26 threes from the bench, from the second unit, however you want to word it, surely it's spreading it out a little bit more rather than it all being in the starters. And then when that second unit come in, all right, yeah, Javon, Caruso, and Torrey Craig are the sort of the next ones down in terms of attempts. They're not out there to do that, in my opinion. In terms of obviously success, Zach has hit 15, Kobe's hit 6. Obviously, we know P. Will's having his problems. He's hit 2. Caruso's hit 4, and Javon's hit 5. Torrey Craig's hit 5. Ayo's hit 5. Percentage wise, I mean, Dalen Terry is actually our highest percent 3-point shooter, but he has only shot 2, and he's at 50%. But Zach is about 35%. Kobe's 22, 23%. P. Will, he's a 40% career shooter. He's currently down at 12. And then Caruso 29, Javon 39, Torrey Craig about 41, 42. And you want to see them numbers go up, especially like Zach, hitting 15 of 43, and he's our main 3-point, threat, basically. Like I said earlier, we haven't got a shooter. Zach doesn't seem to know whether he wants to shoot it or, catch and drive. And that's fine as long as Zach's doing that. But we can't have Kobe trying to do the same thing. We can't have P. Will just doing whatever P. Will's doing, And it's that's it. I'm not a big fan of it. And what's another thing with our 3-point game? The players don't seem to follow their own shot. Now, that's one thing I've always said about Dale Terry. Once he puts it up, he's following it. I imagine Torrey Craig's been a little bit similar, but the rest of the time, everybody's standing around the arc. It goes in, and we don't go for the offensive rebound. And if we do get the offensive rebound, we kick it out and we take another three, as we saw last night against Mavs with the whole, was it 5 attempts and we come out with none, like no success out of it. We were getting the boards, kicking it back out, and they were taking a quick shot rather than try and run some sort of a play or pass it to somebody else who was in a better position. It was like, I've got to shoot it, I've got to shoot it. And that was one of my fears in pre-season, and this whole thing of trying to improve the shot or change the shot profile. It was, we're going to end up with everyone standing around the arc, not really knowing who's doing what. And it's, obviously Caruso, for example, is looking a bit more confident with his shot. The one for me that really stands out, though, is Ayo. But obviously he's had very limited minutes. Like I said before, he's attempted 11, he's hit 5. He's about 45%. So take Dale and Terry out, and obviously apart from DeMar, everyone who's attempted over 10, sorry, Ayo is our best 3-point shooter. And that kind of goes back to what I said before, that Ayo's looking a lot better at the minute. And yeah, it's just, obviously it's always a hot topic for Bulls fans, is this 3-point game, and we just don't have one. We're just not good at the 3-point game. And until something changes in that team, i.e. we bring in a proper shooter, I can't see it changing. And the only way I can see it changing internally is running on and off Bittim. Give him a chance, even if he plays the Matt Thomas role of where he used to just come on because you needed to put some threes up. You needed to space the floor a little bit. But or from what we've seen of Bittim across in Europe and the little bit in pre-season, is he will defend. He will get himself in the way, and he will attempt the threes. And he's a pretty decent 3-point shooter. He's got a very smooth shot, but he's also not scared to take the crazy looking Steph Curry type threes. And he's generally quite successful with it. And this is where the frustration is going to come in, because, we just don't, other teams will play somebody like Bittim. We saw it with Miami playing Max Strus. Bulls would never have played Strus. I know he's come out today and said that he thought there was a chance he could have come back, but there was no interest from Bulls. Obviously been from Chicago, blah, blah, blah. But Miami showed that you give these G League players, these bums, whatever you want to call them, a shot, and they turn into something. Our Bulls going to give Bittim a chance? At the minute, doesn't look like it. They look like they're still trying to get him used to playing American-style basketball. But at the end of the day, if we don't give him a chance, and even somebody like Julian Phillips, I mentioned before, can't see him getting many minutes. But he's all right. His 3-point shot does need a little bit of work, but he's confident enough to take it. And the only way that players like him and Bittim and that are going to improve is getting decent minutes. I'm not saying I want to see him go out there and get 10, 15 minutes, because that's not going to happen. But give him some decent minutes in games. Like but that's what I said before in the earlier episode, is we don't control games enough to be able to feel confident in, or for Billy to feel confident in giving him a run. And yeah, it's just that's it. To me, that's the only way we can improve internally, is giving Bittim a run. Otherwise, we're going to have to try and sign somebody else who is a shooter. And like I said in the earlier episode, they don't necessarily need to do a lot else. And it kind of takes me on to this whole the lineup situation as well, which I spoke about earlier. Obviously, the big talking point at the minute is P. Will or Torrey Craig to start at the 4. You could possibly throw Caruso in there as well. Now, I've compared P. Will and Torrey Craig over the 5 games that we've had. And to be fair, stats-wise, there's not a lot of difference. But eye test-wise, Torrey Craig's destroying it. Do you know what I mean? He's... But as me and Neil both sort of said in the earlier episode, neither of them seem to be the answer. I love what Torrey Craig's doing at the minute. I've said that all along. He's my bet for our unsung hero for the season. But his best role is coming off the bench, because he doesn't need. You know what he's going to bring when he comes on, basically. When we've got P. Will there, we don't know what P. Will's going to do. We don't know if he's going to turn up. We don't know if he's going to have a good game defensively. We don't know if he's going to have a good game offensively. Yeah, so just looking at him stat-wise, and apologies for looking down, because obviously I've had to write them down, but through the 5 games, P. Will's played 112 minutes and Torrey Craig's played 105. Obviously, P. Will's been getting the starts. We saw against Pacers where Torrey Craig probably didn't get as many minutes as probably would have done due to getting that elbow. In terms of like the main stats, point wise, P. Will scored 20 points through the 5 games. Torrey Craig's got 29. Turnovers, P. Will's 6, Torrey Craig 3. Blocks, P. Will 2, Torrey Craig 3. Steals, and this is where P. Will sort of takes it, 7, Torrey Craig 3. Assists, P. Will 7, Torrey Craig 3. Now this is the one that really stands out to me, and it's where everyone's saying they want P. Will to be better. Rebound, P. Will 16, Torrey Craig 24. Defensive rebound wise, P. Will 12, Torrey Craig 13. So, offensive rebounds, Torrey Craig's destroying it. And that is what kind of leads into what I said about the whole players chasing the shot, players chasing other people's shots. Torrey Craig's obviously doing that, and whether the 3-point shots, mid-range shots, whatever it happens to be, is creating second chance points or opportunities. P. Will not. It's one thing that really annoys me with P. Will is his lack of rebounding, and to the eight rebounds more from Torrey Craig in 7 minutes played or less played. That's what I mean with Torrey Craig. You know what you're going to get. You know he's going to give 100%. He's tough. He's not scared to get his body in there. And this is where, I'd say P. Will's just regressed past passive at the minute. And I know I've said a couple of times now, I'm sick of talking about P. Will. And this is why, because he's in year 4 now, and people are still trying to treat him like he's a rookie. And yeah, all right, you missed year two, or a lot of year two with that injury, but off the top of my head, the top game, the biggest game P-Will's had, meaningless games against Timberwolves when they rested the starters. Um, Against Nuggets in pre-season, who cares? It was pre-season. At the time, after pre-season, everyone was obviously saying, "Oh yeah, this is P-Will. He's going to do this. He's going to do that." And I just said, "Well, is he going to do it next Wednesday against OKC? No. Has he done it since the OKC game? If anything, it's got worse. All right, he's having the odd good game defensively to a degree, but even his defense at times isn't looking the same." And I quickly listened to Bulls talk before, and Kevin Anderson said on there, if you're gonna have offense like Dennis Rodman, you need to have defense like Dennis Rodman, and that's not what P. Will's doing at the minute. He's having offense like Dennis Rodman, as in no points, and his defense is just it's not, especially rebound wise, is not Dennis Rodman standard by any means. And I think, that's obviously the main talking point in the lineups, but the other one that is now creeping in is, should Kobe be in the starting lineup? And I don't think it's a knock on Kobe to drop to that second unit. I have said that all along. I just think that both Kobe and P. Will, especially when they're together in that second unit, Kobe seems to give P. Will a different type of confidence. We saw it. I think it was in the Pacers game where he sort of spoke to him before it, and they're obviously really good friends and stuff like that. And everyone was saying from before pre-season, put them in the second unit, let them cook in that second unit, and it just kind of feels that's the way it's got to go. But if you were to drop P. Will and bench P. Will now, it kind of feels like that's where he's going to stay. He doesn't seem to take it personal. He seems to be still happy that he's there. Whereas if you drop Kobe to the bench, you could see Kobe taking it personal, and you could see him wanting to get back into that starting lineup and be that starting point guard. And that's where the issue for me comes in. Kobe's not a point guard, he's a combo guard. If anything, he's very similar to Zach. And I know Hayes has put an episode out today at Chicago Bulls Central where he said that he feels that Kobe and DeMar can't be on the court at the same time. And obviously, he's probably looked into it a lot more than I have, stat wise and stuff like that. And that, obviously, my opinion is Kobe shouldn't be out there with Zach. Hayes is saying that Kobe and DeMar don't work. And before pre-season or during pre-season, I said we haven't seen enough of Kobe alongside DeMar and Zach. And now we are seeing it. Doesn't look like it's working. So, yeah, I mean, obviously that's just my opinion. I'm trying not to hate on P. Will too much. I know when Neil does eventually join me for an episode, we're probably going to have that discussion in a lot more depth, because I know that he is pretty much the only person left on P. Will Island at the minute. He just won't give up on him. I know it's upsetting him that sexy rainbow three's not there. I know he was quite upset by it last night, and yeah, I mean, so far this season, I've only been able to say it Neil twice, and it's yeah. Like I say, obviously that's for further down the line when Neil eventually comes back. Obviously we did give our quick predictions just to finish this one off. Going to talk a little bit more about tomorrow's game now against Nets. Nets currently sit 2-2. they lost to Cavs and Mavs in their first 2 games, and then they beat Hornets and Heat. Now, I've said for since last season or during pre-season or off-season, whatever, that on paper we should finish above Nets. After they got rid of KD, Harden, Kyrie, all that, they don't look the same. But Ben Simmons is having a all right kind of return. Cam Thomas just keeps coming off into the starting lineup and the bench, whatever it is he's doing, and dropping big amount of points. Obviously Bridges. I know Cam Johnson's out injured at the minute. And they're a team I expect us to beat, as both me and Neil have said, and that's our predictions for it. But we have to turn up. We're not just going to beat them by stepping on the court. And that's kind of where we were last year with a lot of teams, I think. We thought we'd won the game before we'd actually played the game. And the players just need to step up. Every one of them needs to step up, from Zach down to Ayo, because otherwise this season is going to end up running away from us in a way. Obviously tomorrow's game is the first of the in-season tournaments. Like I said before, we're going to have the red court, the City Edition jerseys. Don't fancy the look of it all to put together, but what do we want to achieve from this in-season tournament? To me, the most important thing is getting the win for the regular season. I'm not really bothered about this in-season tournament. If we win, obviously we're going to, it puts us further into progressing with Magic, Raptors and Celtics coming up. Yeah, if we get through to the next stage, yeah, fine, fair enough. But the most important thing is what it does to our, our ranking and our, we want to be above 500. If we win tomorrow, we're back to being 500, and then we've got Nuggets, which, and then next week we've got Suns and Jazz, and it is a tough start to the season. So these sort of games where clearly, to me on paper, it's clearly a winnable game, we have to win it. And I don't care how we win it. If we only attempt 23s, but everything else goes to plan, so be it. But that's the thing, we have to piece everything together, and we need to sort this maths problem out that Bulls seem to have. So yeah, like I say, this episode, I'll wrap it up there. It was just basically to see if I could get the YouTube going again, because we don't want to lose the sort of ground we were starting to build on YouTube. And the same as putting the episodes out, I'm trying to keep as up to date as I can with it all, so that we can actually talk about individual games. And obviously more so when Neil's back, we're not going back week and week and week. We could just go back to the last game or whatever it happens to be. Which we've said before, it's hard for us to do here in the UK because, like, obviously we've got Nuggets Nets tomorrow and Nuggets Saturday. I think it's Suns or Jazz, whichever way round it is, on Monday. So there's potentially 3 games that are going to happen that before a next episode comes out from us. So yeah, I'm just trying to keep us up to date as I can. Appreciate everyone who's listened, and if you are on YouTube, thanks for watching. And don't forget, hit the thumbs up, hit the bell, and leave comments. Let me know what you think of my opinions on the 3-point game. So yeah, like I say, thanks for listening. It is just a bit of a catch-up episode again, and practice episode, whatever you want to call it. Like I say, we'll be back next week, hopefully on YouTube. Now I've sorted it out, and if not, definitely an audio one, possibly with more input from Neil as well. depending if he's stopped enjoying himself in Orlando or not. So yeah, and as always, you can find Neil on Twitter at Neil Seared UK. You can find me on Twitter at Matt Seared UK, and you can find us on all the socials at Seared UK. And until next time, see you red people.